that I'm going to teach you here today, they're going to apply directly to your biggest problems. This is always the hardest thing that I have to convince people of, and that is, I know there is something in your company, in your personality, in the way that you build your business that you are worried is terminal, that there's no way past it. And I want to show you guys exactly how to solve those hardest business problems. Now, there's no getting around product market fit, and we're going to talk about that. You definitely have to have that. But once you have product market fit, everything else can be solved. And even finding product market fit can be solved using the things that I'm going to teach you guys about today. Now, as a quick heads up, this is not a sit back and relax type masterclass. This is going to require that you guys dig in. I'm going to ask you to take copious notes for your own sake, stay engaged, think about how you're going to apply these lessons. All the stuff that we're going to be talking about will apply directly to anybody that is trying to scale a business. Now, at the end, I'm going to demonstrate that everything I teach works by applying it directly to your business challenges. All right, does that sound good? I want to make the most of our time together. And to do that, all you guys have to do is engage. And as I walk you through the different things that we're talking about today, figure out how this applies to your business and find that area where it feels like the things that I'm teaching you begin to break down and you're not sure what to do in that next step. That's where you want to hit me. Hit me with something that would really add value to you and your company today. Now, before we get to the tactical lessons, I want to take a second. I want you guys to think about this. I want you to imagine walking into the office tomorrow morning. And instead of having a knot in your stomach about all the fires that you're going to need to put out, you feel complete clarity. Imagine what that would feel like. You have complete clarity on how to solve all of these problems so that you can start making the massive progress that so far has eluded you. Now, suddenly, you know exactly why you've been stuck, and more importantly, you know exactly what to do about it. Now, I want you to imagine never again having anxiety on a Sunday night because you have now in your hands a proven system, a framework that you know works for any challenge that your business is going to throw at you. And your business is going to throw a lot of challenges at you because we all live inside the chaos machine that is the world. And when you're trying to get to a very specific destination, you're going to realize that the world is in fact working against you. We're going to talk about that. All right, I want you to picture yourself sitting down with your team and, unlike usual, instead of feeling overwhelmed by all the problems, you actually feel energized because you know how to solve all the problems that you face systematically, predictably, every single time. Again, you're going to have something that allows you to solve these problems systematically, predictably. You know you're going to be able to do it every time. Doesn't matter what it is. You're going to have a system to work through all of that. The way that that will change how you feel cannot be overstated. It is incredible. Now, how would that change not just your business, but your life, your relationships, your sense of control and purpose? And never underestimate how important a sense of purpose is. Now, if that is something that speaks to you, you are going to love what we're about to go through because that's exactly what we're going to put into your hands. This is my promise to you. In the next roughly 28 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to create the clarity and confidence you're going to need. I'm going to walk you through the 3 biggest misconceptions that people have about scaling a business, the kind of misconceptions that plague even Harvard Business School grads and active entrepreneurs. This is the stuff that messes with people right now, the people trying to grow this stuff. If they're not doing it systematically, if they're just winging it, this is the stuff that erodes them as well. I'm going to show you guys the precise system that we use to scale Quest Nutrition from $1 million to over $1 billion, and how it's the same system I've used to scale Impact from 0 views to over 1 billion views, in addition to the millions and millions of dollars in revenue. And maybe even more importantly than that, I'm going to show you guys how to adapt that system to your specific business challenges. Now, at the end of this masterclass, I'm even going to solve your hardest business problems live. Remember, you've got the genie. So we just have to figure out where what I walk you through today begins to break down, where you begin to become unclear again. That's where you want to raise your hand and say, hey, what about this? We can help you through all of that as well using the same method. All right, there's no pressure here today, but I really do want you guys to feel free to bring me those big challenges that you think are truly unsolvable. All right, you're not going to stump me. The system's never going to be stumped. So we're going to be able to show you how to use these techniques in order to break through any plateau that you're having. All right, the only catch in all of this is that you've got to stay until the end. So grab a notebook, close every other tab, and let's get down to transforming your actual business. All right, I want to start with a question. Who here feels like their business challenge is completely unique to them? Like, nah, man, no one-size-fits-all approach could ever possibly fix my problems. If that's you, I want you to type yes in the chat. If that sounds like you, type yes in the chat. Now, here is the single most important idea that you need to understand from our time together today. The problems you're facing in your business are unique, but the way that you solve them is not. Let me say that again. The problems that you're facing in your business, they really are unique. They are as unique to you as you think they are, but the way that you're going to solve those problems isn't unique to you. It's not unique to anybody. There are universals that apply to business. It's something I call the physics of progress. Now, it does not matter how crazy or special your situation is. Between my own experience and the students that I've worked with, I've interacted with just about every industry. In my business scaling community, we've got businesses ranging from hospitality groups, freight companies, HVAC services, banana farms. We've got a banana farm, and online coaches. And really, that is just the tip of a gigantic gigantic iceberg of different industries that we touch. Combined over the last year, our students have done hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue in countries all over the globe in wildly divergent industries. And the one thing they have in common is that my system is being used to help them grow. Again, it doesn't matter how unique their problems are. And truly, a banana farmer has different problems than a lot of other people. But the way that you go about figuring out the solutions is going to be the same. So every week in my program, these business owners bring me what they think are the impossible problems. Their co-founders turning their business into a literal nightmare, manufacturing partners stealing their IP. These are real stories, by the way. Customer pools drying up, not knowing where to start when your revenue streams become stagnant. But here's the truth. Every single one of those challenges can be solved systematically. And that's why you guys are here. As a business leader, you know you have to be able to make the hard decisions well. As Jeff Bezos says, as a senior executive, you get paid to make a small number of high quality decisions. Or as Elon Musk says, you're paid in direct proportion to the difficulty of the problems you solve. Or what I remind my team of all the time, a CEO's job is to solve novel problems. Now, problems you've never seen before, problems no one has ever seen before. When we were scaling Quest, we faced oftentimes what felt like insurmountable problems. It was literally a non-stop barrage. Droughts, supply chain disruptions that could have bankrupted us, marketing channels that suddenly stopped working, employee problems, lawsuits, competitors copying everything we did, down to our color scheme. And despite all of this and a whole lot more, we grew by 57,000%, 57,000% in 3 years with a CPG product. So it was a physical, tangible good. We were doing our own manufacturing. We had inventory risk, distributions, all of it tied together. Now, think about all the employees, square footage, and overhead that comes with all of that. It was absolutely insane, but the system saw us through it all. Now, here's what we learned. While the problems were always different, the way we solved them was always the same. Again, this is what I call the physics of progress. There are fundamental principles, and these are them. The repeatable processes that allow you to solve any business problem, no matter how complex it seems. Now, look, it's beyond the scope of this class to get into the deep nitty-gritty of the physics of progress in detail, but that's exactly what I teach week in and week out inside of my business scaling community. But for today, I want you to write down in your notes the following. You must develop a clear process to hypothesize, predict, test, analyze, and iterate rapidly if you want to scale. I'm going to repeat that because I want you guys to write this down. These are the physics of progress. You have to develop a clear process to hypothesize about what your problem is, predict the outcome that you're going to get. That's really important. Know how to test to see if your hypothesis is correct. Analyze the data to see if your prediction was accurate, okay? Because you're trying to build a prediction engine in your own brain. That's the whole point. And then iterate rapidly with that new information. And that is literally how you scale. Obviously, there's a ton of detail that goes into that. We're going to cover some of the underlying principles of that today, the big mistakes, the silent killers that destroy businesses. We're going to go through all of those today, but I want you to have in the back of your mind that you've got to develop that clear process to hypothesize, predict, test, analyze, and iterate rapidly. That's the game. All right, again, I don't have the time to get in the nitty-gritty of the physics of progress, but I want to ensure that your business doesn't die from something stupid before I can get you in the scaling program and help you in more detail. So I'm going to show you guys the 3 biggest silent killers of business, how to think about them in the right way so that you can avoid the 3 horsemen of the business apocalypse. These are the 3 reasons why 90% of all businesses fail. Literally, 90% of all businesses fail. And what I'm going to be walking you through are these 3 killers. You can think of them as the heart disease, cancer, and dementia of business. Once you see these 3 clearly and learn how to address them, you are well on your way towards breaking through any plateaus that you're currently facing. All right, silent killer number 1. I would scream this if I thought that I was going to get it through to you because this is so important. The number 1 silent killer of businesses is lack of clarity. Now, This is the mistake that I see entrepreneurs making all the time. I don't care if they're new, young, old, experienced, it doesn't matter. The amount of times that I see people having lack of clarity is freakish. Now, your business is always going to have 1,000 problems. Most of them should be ignored. Not the answer I know most people were expecting, but the reality is most of the problems in your business you're going to ignore. Now, I can hear you guys clutching your pearls from here. You may hear people talking about things like getting more traffic, Facebook ads, better copywriting. I got to do podcasting, social media. And you think I've got to do all of that too. Or maybe you pride yourself on being the firefighter of your business, putting out fires that seem to pop up every day, which of course they do. And it's easy to latch onto these things because everyone is talking about them. Everyone is giving you an earful of tactics. They're flashy. These problems are loud. They might appear to be burning your business right in front of you. And most deceivingly, they're easy to point to and say, that's what we need to do. But here's the truth. These loud problems are almost never the real problems. A business is designed to deliver a product or service. And those are destinations. And destinations must be hyper-specific. Okay? A business is designed to deliver a product or service. Think of that product or service as a destination. It's a place you're trying to get to. The amount of sales that you want, the thing that you want to put out into the world, the specific problem that you're going to solve, it's all very clear and specific. But you have to define exactly what it looks like to have achieved your goals. Only then are you going to know how to set your priorities. And it's the inability to set priorities that kills businesses. This is why clarity is so important, because goals make demands. To meet those demands, you're going to have to do things in priority order. I see people wasting months, years, just executing in the wrong order. Now, being an entrepreneur is like standing in a room with 1,000 doors. And your job as the entrepreneur is to know which doors to close, which to leave open, and most importantly, of the ones you leave open, what order do you walk through them in? You have to know which ones to go through first. Now, whenever a business owner tells me about a problem in their business, 9 times out of 10, they've got a clarity problem. They're steering by emotion. I see this all the time. They have all these dots in their head. They connect those dots with feelings rather than logic and data, and it makes them feel like they're going where they want to go because they're using the feelings as GPS rather than data. And the data, when used as GPS, is going to show you the most efficient path from A to B. Emotional GPS makes you feel like you're taking an efficient path, but not only may you not be going as efficiently as you could, you may be going in the exact opposite direction. You've got to strip away the emotion and ask yourself the following very simple series of questions. 1, where am I now? 2, where do I want to be? What does success look like? Very specifically. Key metrics identified. And 3, how do I get there in the most efficient way possible? All right, let me give you an example from Quest Nutrition. All right, this is a real example. In the early days, we faced a massive challenge. We wanted to differentiate ourselves by making a tasty protein bar that happened to be good for you. Now, one of the ways that we did it was by choosing not to use something called high fructose corn syrup. Every other bar on the market was using high fructose corn syrup, but we didn't want to do that because it was not metabolically advantageous, meaning you eat it, you spike your glucose. That has a whole host of knock-on effects, some of which are controversial, but others are not, which is that it's going to cause you to overeat, you're going to put on fat, becomes a whole problem. So we knew we did not want to have high fructose corn syrup in our bar. We didn't want sugar of any kind. But every manufacturer that we went to, because originally we did not plan to manufacture our own bars, every manufacturer that we went to told us that making a protein bar without high fructose corn syrup, of all things, this is crazy to me even now, they said it was impossible. They said, you've got to add corn syrup. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to produce the bars. It's just not doable. And then When every other company in the world heard that message, they all just crumbled and added sugar to their bar, which is why we kept asking, why has nobody made a bar like this? One that tastes like it has sugar but doesn't. This just seems so obvious. Why hasn't anybody done this? Now, the reason is they tried. They went to the manufacturer without clarity of what their end goal was, because all they thought about was the product in a general sense or how much money they want to make. But they didn't have the kind of clarity that we had. We knew we wanted to end metabolic disease by making food that people could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them. It was very specific. Now, because of that clarity on the mission to end metabolic disease, we knew that in order to end up at our precise destination, the one thing we couldn't do was add sugar. So instead of accepting the frame of reference being handed to us by the manufacturers, and you want to talk about a big idea that is outside the scope of what we're talking about today. Boys and girls, you're all trapped inside of a frame of reference and you don't understand it. And one of the biggest things I'm going to teach you how to do is how to get out of a frame of reference. But for that one, you're going to have to join the class. This is way too big of an idea. But just know right now, you are like Neo in the Matrix before you take the red pill. You think you're in the real world, but in the reality, you're in a matrix. So instead of accepting that matrix that other people try to put on us, the manufacturers telling us that this bar can't be made, we instead thought from first principles, meaning we're not thinking by analogy. I reject everything you say. You're telling me that this bar literally violates the laws of physics. It does not. So the answer ended up being something that, when we discovered it, literally changed the industry. And the issue wasn't that it was physically impossible to make a protein bar without corn syrup. That's obvious. It was that the design of the equipment that scaled up, all of that conventional protein bar machinery was designed assuming that you were going to use high fructose corn syrup. So what did we do? We realized that if we wanted to take out the high fructose corn syrup, we were going to have to make our own equipment. And so that's what we did. Now that breakthrough allowed us to produce the product that we envisioned and revolutionize the market. What's the lesson? You have to have clarity on where you're trying to end up. If you have vague ideas or only part of the puzzle, then you're going to run into trouble. But because we knew we wanted to end metabolic disease by making food that people could choose based on taste and happened to be good for them, we understood that we couldn't put sugar in it and that we were either going to have to abandon the mission or we were going to have to engineer our own equipment. And so that's what we did. Now, when you have that kind of clarity, and you're standing in that room with 1,000 doors, the way that you know which doors to close is based on the goal's demands. So every goal makes a demand. And you simply close the doors that your goals demand you close. So one of the open doors was to have somebody else manufacture the bar. Cool, we had to close that. Another one of the doors was to add sugar to the bar. Well, our mission said that we had to close that, so we closed that. And when you're standing in the room with 1,000 doors, you want to be able to close all of them based on adherence to the demands of your goal. And then you just walk through the doors that you've left open in the sequence that leads to greatest efficiency. That's it. Now, that is what separates the companies that grow from the ones that stay small. Silent killer number 2. There's no product market fit. There's no way around this one. The misconception that people have is, I love my product. Therefore, others are going to love my product. It's the old field of dreams conundrum. If I build it, they will come. But this is false. Okay, please, if you're taking notes, write this one down. You must solve a known problem. Okay, we said your business is here to solve a problem. You deliver a product that solves a problem. But the critical word is known. You have to solve a known problem. Don't try to convince people that they have a problem. Find a problem that they already know they have, that they are absolutely screaming out for someone to solve. Solve that problem. Right now, I know a lot of people think, but this product is amazing. Once people understand the issue that it solves, they're going to flip out. They're going to flock to this thing. They are going to love it. But here is the hard truth. If people don't already know that they have that problem, the problem that your product supposedly solves, you're going to go broke just trying to convince them that they have the problem in the first place. So I want you to reframe this whole idea. Find a big, burning problem that a lot of people have and ask yourself, how can I leverage their current behavior to get them to want my product? Let me give you an example from Quest. We knew, and you guys know right now, I bet some of you are doing it while you're listening. We knew that people were going to eat cookies, candy bars, pizza, chips, all that kind of stuff. So we made all of those things good for you. We didn't change people's behavior. We didn't try to shame them into eating broccoli. We didn't try to make broccoli taste better because people aren't already eating broccoli in the way that they're already eating chips. So we said the only thing that makes sense is to leverage their behavior to get them to do something good for themselves. So let's make these really tasty foods better for them. Let's use what we know about the science of good taste to get people to make positive decisions that will be metabolically advantageous for themselves. So figure out what behaviors they're already displaying and leverage that. Now, we knew if we can make healthy food taste amazing, we would be able to get people to flock to us. So to quickly summarize, you want to identify a known problem that no one has yet solved. Figure out what that underlying problem is that has stopped the problem from being solved for so long, and solve that underlying problem. So manufacturing ended up being one of the big challenges of solving this problem. So solve that, and now you've got a real opportunity. But don't try to convince people that they have a problem they have heretofore been unaware of. All right, silent killer number 3. All right, stick with me. This one has kind of it's a sexy name. You're going to get to know this very well, but it's something a lot of people haven't heard of. Silent killer number 3 is what's known as low VMG. Low VMG. The misconception that people have goes like this. Hey, Tom, I've found my problem. I've solved the hell out of it. I'm going to be in Forbes, baby. Well, not so fast, Chief. The reality is that products are not the same as a business. Products are not the same as a business. Even if you have massive clarity and really have solved a critical problem that people are screaming out to be solved, it doesn't mean that you know how to operationalize a business. And if you don't know how to operationalize a business, you are fucked. You need systems and processes that allow you to capture the directional energy of your team. So imagine this for a second. You've got 10 people. It's 10v10, and they're playing tug of war. But 6 of the 10 people on your team are pulling in different directions. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose. The second you go up against an organized team that are all pulling at the same time in the same direction, you're going to lose. Your job is to do that same kind of thing inside of your company. Now, this thing of capturing that directional energy is known as VMG. I'm not making this up. It's called Velocity Made Good. Just go ask your local AI about it. It will tell you all about it. It is a concept in business that comes from sailing. Now, the concept is this. How efficiently are you making progress towards your destination given the wind conditions? Okay, think of the wind conditions as the activity inside of your company. You've got a lot of people doing a lot of things, but are they doing the right things in the right order at the right time? Because if the wind is blowing, but it's blowing in the wrong direction, you can get moving really fast, but going the wrong way. You have to learn how to angle the sails or even do something called tacking back and forth to capture the available direction of the wind and actually move towards your desired destination. Now, the straighter the line that you're taking to your destination, the higher your VMG. The more you're having to tic-tac back and forth, the more you're just going in the wrong direction or you don't have enough wind blowing at all because you're not able to get people to do the things that they're supposed to be doing, you have low VMG. Now, it is very easy to think more revenue and more employees will solve all of your problems. Brace yourself, because the exact opposite is true. The more revenue and the more people you have, the more problems you have. This is why most companies fizzle out. Maybe, okay, first of all, almost everybody fails to get to $1 million. But the numbers get terrifying when you talk about who gets to 10. And the numbers get even smaller when you talk about who gets to 100 million. And the numbers, they literally call it a unicorn for a reason if you get to $1 billion. And getting to $1 billion is all about understanding VMG, making good on that velocity. All right, how can it possibly be that the more revenue you have, the more problems you have? Because if you don't have systems, KPIs, SOPs, formal channels of communication, accountability, ridiculously strong players, and much more, to overcome all the chaos inherent in scaling, you will go nowhere fast. You will go nowhere fast. So again, unfortunately, even if you raise a bunch of money, even if you make a bunch of money off of sales, the most dangerous thing that can happen to your business is what's known as hyperscaling or blitzscaling. The number of very respected people that pulled me aside when we were at Quest and said, hey, I know this feels good, but you've got to be careful because one of the most dangerous things you can do is hyperscale. It's dangerous from a cash flow management perspective. It is dangerous from a culture perspective. It's dangerous from a be in business in 10 years perspective because you can burn so hot that you burn out. So if you want to survive and even thrive, you need that high VMG, the ability through systems and discipline and accountability to get everybody pointed in the same direction, moving at the same speed, pulling the same way at the same time. That is how you take the most direct route to your destination. That is how you capture all of the momentum that your team can generate. And if you fail to do that, people begin to get this uneasy feeling that they are working very hard and going nowhere. So you want to keep your team lean and your expenses even leaner. All right. Without robust processes, streamlined infrastructure, and killer leadership, rapid growth really does lead to chaos. Sustainable growth comes from building the business foundations that no one teaches you about before you hit the accelerator, before you stamp down on that bad boy. All right, once again, let me give you a case study. At Quest, we went from 3 employees, literally, to 3,000 employees, literally, in just 5 years. Now, as the person who was doing the hiring, let me tell you, hiring at that pace is insane. I had to interview people in groups. We grew so fast that I once got locked out of my own facility because none of the weekend employees at the remote production facility actually knew what I looked like. It was crazy. It was crazy. That was the first time when I was like, uh-oh, this really is a problem. People tried to warn me, and I'm beginning to see the cracks. Now, we had problems like chocolate bars melting in transit, product being stolen by our own employees. That was fun. Droughts causing insane spikes in almond prices that unattended, shall we say, buyers ended up locking us into long-term contracts, causing problems. And so what I learned from my time at Quest was very simple. Scaling only works when you build scalable systems. So now I focus on establishing a strong company culture of excellence, hiring experienced people that can help me and stop me from making rookie mistakes. I document KPIs and SOPs, and I track the handful of things that really matter. And I communicate relentlessly. It doesn't matter how much clarity I have. If my team has none, we're in trouble. All right. To summarize that, scaling is not just about speed. It's about building the systems, processes, and leadership so you can overcome what I call the chaos machine. And the chaos machine is just the natural way that life works against all of us. You have a whole bunch of different people trying to get a lot of things done, moving slightly out of rhythm, not communicating well. So you need all of that stuff to keep everybody in sync. Now, if you get the foundation right, you'll scale faster, stronger, and more sustainably than you ever thought possible. It really, let me tell you, as somebody who's done it, it really is incredible when you get things right, how fast you can grow. And if you do it intelligently, you can really capture the benefit of that growth. All right, those are the 3 silent killers. It is time now for you guys to ask your questions. But before we get to that, let me ask you a question. Would you like help scaling your business directly from me? From someone who has scaled 3 multi-million-dollar companies in 3 separate industries across 3 wildly different economic conditions, including a company that to date has generated many billions of dollars in lifetime revenue and achieved a $1 billion exit. Between myself and the thousands of students that I've helped, I've seen every permutation of how scaling can go very wrong. I've been in the trenches for over 2 decades, scaling my own companies, navigating the chaos, and solving the high-stakes problems that come with growth. For the past few years, I've been working with aspiring entrepreneurs, helping them go from 0 to 1. And look, I love helping people at that stage. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is a very exciting moment. And when it works, it is breathtaking. But recently, been doing this now for long enough, I've realized that there's a group within my own community that's massively underserved. And that's those of you that have already built traction and are now trying to scale from, say, 1 million to 10 million and beyond. Now, scaling isn't just a bigger version of starting up. It's a completely different ballgame. And before I started teaching people how to do it, it was the very rare entrepreneur that could go from startup founder to running an established scaling company. It almost never happened. The stakes are higher, the decisions are harder, and the problems are relentless. But it is possible. It can be taught. You can learn how to do this. And this is exactly where I thrive. This is what I've been building up to do. And it's where I can help you guys the most. Now, look, there are a lot of business coaches out there teaching the basics, how to start a business, how to get more traffic, how to run Facebook ads, how to close more sales. That's all fine. It's got to be done. But those are the 101s of business. They're not going to give you a proven framework to solve the hundreds of high-stake problems that come with scaling. With scaling, there is a lot more to lose if you make the wrong decisions. And that's where strategy comes in. This is the real-world MBA level education, if you will, but something that is based on battle-tested frameworks business owners actually use in the field right now today. Not some overly simplistic ivory tower matrix of what used to work or what works in academia. This is the stuff that works in the trenches, out in the field. Now, if you see yourself in what I've been talking about, if you've got traction and need guidance to scale, here's what I want you to do next. Go to tombilyeu.com/call or click the link in the chat to apply to our business scaling program. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. I am highly selective about who we accept into this group because this is not for everyone. We are looking for serious business owners who have already proven they can build something great, who are now committed to doing what it takes to scale. So this is not for somebody that's looking to go from 0 to 1. I'm looking for people who are ready to be in the room with other high-level executives solving the hardest problems in business. Now, if that's you, go right now to tombilyeu.com/call and book a call with my team, and we'll see if you qualify. All right, during the call, if we believe you're a perfect fit, we'll offer you an exclusive invitation to work with us in 2025. And if you're accepted, you'll get to work with me directly and join a group of truly exceptional entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses to the next level. Now, we're only going to be taking calls for the next 72 hours, so do not delay. Next week is the holidays, and we're going to be taking the time to recharge and prepare to attack 2025. So if you are serious about making your 2025 scaling goals a reality and want to work with me and be surrounded by other executives that are at or above your caliber, you've got 72 hours to speak with us. So again, go to tombilyeu.com/call or simply click the link in the chat right now. Okay, now it's time for your questions. If you haven't posted yours, post them below now after, of course, you apply for the course, and we'll get to them right away. All right, let's do it. It is question time. Here it is. First one is from Amit. In the last 15 years, I have gone through over 200 people, hired, trained, fired. About 12 superstars stayed over 5 years. I really need to get better at interviewing and hiring the right individuals. What kind of process or questions would help someone to hire more superstars? All right, Amit, my whole life has been leading to answering this question. So here is the reality. You have got to, one, come to understand the position that you're hiring for well enough that you cannot be bamboozled. Do whatever it takes. Call a bunch of people that are doing this job, or do 1,000 interviews if you have to. Learning about what the role requires. And you're going to ask a relatively simple series of questions, but they are designed to learn one thing. Does this person understand the essence of their job, and can they do it well right now today? Okay, a lot of people hide behind having worked with other people that were good, having been on the group project, but they were the one like clipping their toenails in the background while everybody else was working. So they've got the title, but they don't actually have the chops. So you're going to ask questions all about what did they actually do. Do not ask philosophical questions. This is going to be figure out what the problems that you have in your business and put them in that scenario. Hey, if you're trying to hire for, let's just say for a CFO, actually, let's use marketing. Marketing is the worst. I think that marketers, the vast majority of marketers do not understand what marketing is. So question number one, what is the nature of marketing? Now, you're going to see they're going to dance. They're not going to have a great answer. And by the way, the answer is very simple. Marketing is the ability to get people to pay attention to you when you want them to pay attention and feel what you want them to feel when you want them to feel it. That's it. That's what marketing is. And marketing, you only have assets and incentives. And if they can't give you any of that, they do not understand what marketing is at its most fundamental. Okay, let's say that they give me a banger answer there. Then you go, all right, cool. We are having a problem getting our CAC to the level that we want. As our chief marketing officer, or whatever role they're going to fill, what would you do to get that number up? Or maybe even before I ask them that, I would say, what are the 3 to 5 metrics that you think are the most important for somebody trying to drive sales? And see what they say. What are the numbers that they pay attention to? And I'll even push them. Where would you find that number? What system do you guys use? And remember, I want them to give me answers to what they're doing right now. So give me a time where you increased the number of people in your funnel, or you decreased the CAC at your company. Give me a real example. The more details, the better. And you just keep dragging them into current waters. What are they doing right now? How did they solve a problem that matches your problem in their company right now? What numbers do they look at? Where would they find those numbers? What are the levers that they have to pull that can actually influence those numbers? And if you want to walk out of that interview feeling like you could go do their job. Now, if they can give you that information, then they really know it. If they can't give you that information, they don't know it, and they're just good at interviewing. You want to be as blind as possible going into this. It is just all about the data. What have they done? What are they doing right now? Can they explain it? Do they understand the stuff? Do they know the levers they can pull? What is the time where they got real results? What did they do? And the more detail they give you, the more you will know that they did it. If they are very vague, if they are very high level, if they can't really remember, if they start saying, well, I don't always look at that thing, and I haven't really looked at that thing for 2 years. Dude, you're going to hear all kinds of bullshit. You want people that are in it, that understand how to do this stuff. There is virtually no aspect of my business that you could ask me about that I'm not going to be able to tell you. If you get deep into the technical weeds of what API calls are we using, okay, there I'm going to start to lose you. But man, I can teach and do most, I won't say all, but most of the jobs in my company. And because of that, I can hire well. But this is an area that everybody struggles. I've only gotten to that by being foolish many times, hiring the wrong people and realizing how wasteful that is. So learn, as I say, a fool never learns. A smart man learns from his mistakes, and a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I hope you will be wise and follow that breakdown. All right, Jen says, I own a bridal business and I want to scale, but I also want to scale my real estate business. Is it possible to really dedicate and scale both businesses at the same time? No, Jen, it's not. So here's the thing. This is hard. I hate that this is true, Jen. Both of us are angry that this is true. But the reality is that think of you like the sun. The sun is a gigantic nuclear reactor in the sky, but its energy is so diffuse that you can go lay out in the nuclear radiation falling on the earth, and all that happens is you get a tan, or if you really space out, you get a sunburn. But Jen, if you take a magnifying glass and you focus that otherwise diffuse energy, you can light something on fire. That's actually true. You are the same in your business. The more you diffuse your energy across different businesses, the fewer things you're going to be able to set on fire and get really moving. Now, there's a great quote that will serve you well, which is, you can build any business that you want, but not every business. You can build any business that you want, but not every business. You will diffuse your energy. Now, don't allow yourself to be bamboozled by Elon Musk. Now, how is Elon Musk able to pull it off? Because Jen, if you're going to insist on going down this path, here's what you have to do. You're going to run one of the businesses, and you're going to find somebody else to be the CEO, even if they're not the CEO in name. They're going to run the other business, and you're going to be the chairman of both. So you're going to provide direction, you're going to authorize budgets, things like that, but you're going to have somebody that's running the other business. You have to, so that they can be the magnifying glass, so that they can get things really cooking over there. But if you spread your energies, both of them will languish. Unfortunately, this one I know from experience. The last 2 years of my life have been all about reduction, simplify, reduce, because it's refocusing my energies. Tiffany, want to become a successful capital raiser to scale and continue to build a cash flowing portfolio in commercial real estate. That's not a question, Tiffany, but let's just assume that you were saying, how do I go about it? All right, the way that you would go about doing that is you have to figure out, what is it that people that are giving capital, what do they want? Because ultimately, you're their product, right? They are giving you their money, and they expect you to give them a return on capital. So if you want to be successful at raising capital, you've got to show them how you're going to efficiently and rapidly return capital back to them with a massive return. And if you can do that, then you can really generate some capital. Now, the easiest way to do that is to show them a track record of success. So you're going to go in, you're going to think entirely from their position. They don't know you. They don't trust you. They are worried that they're going to give you money and they're never going to see it again. So you want to give them as tight of a loop as humanly possible. So if you start small and say, hey guys, I want you to give me this amount of money and I'm going to give you a return of XYZ in 6 months. If I do that, I want you to give me this much capital and then I'm going to give you a return in a longer period of time. That's not going to be that much longer than what you're doing. And then you just keep growing and expanding. And as they see that you're being successful, they are more and more likely to give you money. If you have no experience and you don't want to do it like that, you're going to have to go and build, call it 3 years of experience using the very system that you're going to come to them and say, hey, I use this system and this is exactly how I do it. And with this much capital, you're going to build what's called a financial model. So you're going to show them, with this much capital, you plug it into these. This is how I find a customer. This is how much it costs me to renovate a property. This is how long it takes me to flip it. And this is how much I make on average. Cool. You show them that financial model and you say, look, these numbers all hold at scale up to however many. And so you break it down. You say, for every 100 homes under management, I only need 1 manager, 1 finance team, whatever. And you just show how it all scales. And you say, I've been doing this for the last 3 years. You can see 3 years of tax returns. You can see my books. And when they see proof positive, then they're going to say, yeah, there's a lot less risk in going with Tiffany than there would be in somebody else. So just do yourself a favor, make sure that you're putting yourself in their shoes, showing them exactly what they care about. And then if you've got the proven track record, you're in business. If you don't have a proven track record, then it's going to get a lot more difficult. You're going to have to show them that you have something that they can't get anywhere else. And you have to tell a very compelling story about how, even if you are getting punched in the face every day, there's no universe in which you are going to quit. Because guess what, Tiffany? Most entrepreneurs quit. All right, guys, keep dropping your hardest scaling questions. Now, I want to go through a few more, but before we jump into the next question, I want to remind you, you only have 72 hours to apply for our scaling programs, and slots are already filling up. So do not delay. If you have a business that already has traction and you'd like to work with me and my team, apply now to speak with us. Just go to tombilyeu.com/call or click the link in the chat. All right, David is up. My business trains dental clinics around the country in terms of sales operations, but the challenge is our main trainer is the only one capable with all the experience and knowledge. So how to scale the person's expertise if it's so nuanced and very custom to every different clinic? Any other trainer will be extremely difficult for them to ever reach the experience and knowledge of the main trainer, which would make advanced problem solving beyond the main trainer very difficult. Advice would be appreciated. Okay, so with anything like this, you want to approach it from first principles. So if you're telling me that there really is some truth behind the fact that this guy, there's no way for him to train the next person. I don't necessarily believe it, but just to make this question hard, I'm going to embrace that. So let's say that that really is true. If that really is true, what we're going to do is we're going to turn him into a one-to-many machine. So while one-on-one might be the fastest way to do this, there are only so many levers for you to pull. If you want to make more money, and this guy is the bottleneck, then the only way to do it is to charge more for his time, or you're going to make sure that he can touch many, many different people all at once. But I'm going to walk you through what most people actually do, because most people would reject this idea. So most people are going to set up a funnel, and the funnel is going to look something like this. Your main guy, even if this is like a training funnel, the main guy is going to be the one that, so think of me, right, as the bottleneck of Impact Theory University. So here's what we have created. So we do 3 different programs, and the baseline program is going to get me, but one-to-many. They're going to have pre-recorded curriculum, so they're going to be able to engage with that curriculum. Then they're going to get a certain cadence of calls with me. Then the next level up is going to get access to me in the one-to-many format, but they're also going to get a success manager. Now, this is why I disagree that your guy is going to be the bottleneck. The way that we train our success managers is they're training on all of my material. So everything is broken down into these little nuggets. So what you have are people that can explain my system as well as I can explain it to a degree. They're not going to be able to solve the novel problems, which is why people always get access to me. So when they run into that thing that only I can answer, that I'm there to answer it. But all of the ancillary stuff that I would otherwise get sucked into, we've got the success managers that are trained on my system that can answer all of those questions. And then in the third one, the highest tier, you've got people that it's, again, same thing. There's one-to-many access. They've got the pre-recorded classes, but they then get small group access to me in person, IRL, physical experiences. Okay. And then you build something around that obviously really helps supercharge what they're doing. So there are always ways to scale things once you start building up a package like that, teaching the teachers, because a lot of times what you want to do is the people that are actually going to pay you for this are the people that want to do the same thing. So another way, just to like really look at all of our options, another way would be for you guys to build these like a dental clinic incubator, where it's kind of like the Alex Hormozi gym launch, but for the dental industry. And so now you're going to go in and you're going to help put together all the things that they're going to need. You're going to put a success package together. You might even handle some of the marketing, some of the finance, whatever package you know is most useful to these dental organizations. And you're going to take potentially even a piece of their company for supplying all of this to them. So there are many ways to skin a cat. And if I had you here and I could ask you some back and forth questions, we could really hone in on the best way. But those are, without even knowing your industry, those are 3 very simple, tried and true ways that you can build this to scale. And so it's all about finding out what are the bottlenecks and what are the different solutions that we have for those individual bottlenecks to be able to break out of that and begin scaling. Okay. And I happen to know that there are people that have rolled up dental clinics, they roll up like, forget how many, 100 or 1,000, whatever the number is, and they end up selling these for hundreds of millions of dollars to VC. It's a pretty interesting system. Anyway, there are a lot of clever ways to structure deals. And so looking at all of those available options comes down to your personality type, comes down to how you've set up your business. But don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of believing that one person is so special that they can't be replicated. They can be replicated, even if only by you, where you turn their classes into something that success managers are trained on that alleviate 90, 95% of the burden on that person so you can scale up the one thing that truly only they can do. All right, my name is Bill Fisher. I am in Owners Club with Pace. What's up, Pace? Pace Morby. I own 7 different businesses, but have recently ventured into retail caffeine vitamin-infused gummies. We have packing, we have packaging maybe, and just currently went to market. I have no clue how to market it and am concerned about competitors moving faster than me. Okay, well, Bill, you should be concerned. And the great news is we're going to give you a clue right now, and we're going to teach you how to get a lot better than this. Okay, so going back to what I was saying earlier, what is marketing? Marketing is getting people to pay attention to what you want them to pay attention to, when you want them to pay attention to it, and to feel the way you want them to feel when you want them to feel it. So you're getting them to look at a thing and feel a thing, okay? And the only way that you can do that is with assets and incentives. So the asset would be the tweet that you send out. It would be the TikTok post. The incentive would be, hey, share this with your friends for a chance to win. Or it can be something way more ethereal, like we're the indie band version of the caffeine-infused gummies, right? And so it's cool to tell people about us. And that's how Quest got a lot of traction going in the beginning, was nobody knew who we were. So we were that cool new secret that people in the know were finding out about. And we were getting in the hands of influencers. So given that your job is to get people to pay attention to what you want them to pay attention to, then you have to ask, what makes somebody pay attention? Okay, so this is where social media comes in. In the era of marketing, this is going to be a social media question. You're going to be able to create a ton of content for effectively free. Does not have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be highly produced, but it does need a hook. Why a hook, Tom? Because your job is to get people's attention. We just covered this. Marketing is the ability to get people's attention. Now, what gets people's attention? A killer hook. So when I say the only thing that you have are assets and incentives, the asset has to have a killer hook. That thing that you put out into the world has to really grab people's attention. I mean, they can't look away. They've got to see this thing. And it doesn't matter that you're just talking about caffeine-infused gummies. You've got to find a way to get people to care. That could be through comedy. It could be through information, little factoids. It could be through attractive people doing funny things, and they always end up holding the gummies up at the end. There are 1,000 ways, 10,000, 1,000,000 ways to get people to pay attention to you. As always, when you are doing something that you've never done before, ask yourself the following question. Has anyone done this well before? So Bill, ask yourself, has anyone used social media to grab people's attention before? I think we both know the answer is yes. Has anybody used social media to grab people's attention before to sell a product? I think we both know the answer is yes. So cool. Now you're going to go audit them and you're going to start taking notes on what makes for killer content. And yes, you or your partner or your killer not to lose employee is going to have to learn how to make absolutely killer content. And there are a ton of people out there making killer content that you can learn from. There's a ton of people out there making killer content on how to make killer content. There is a never-ending stream of information out there, but the key is learn something in the morning, deploy it in the afternoon. So you are going to try and create a ton of content, and I advise you to use the physics of progress. Again, this is exactly the kind of thing that we teach inside the program. But the physics of progress, again, going back to what we talked about early, it's very simple. You know where you want to go, right? Clarity. You know where you are. You need to identify the obstacle between where you are and where you want to get. And then to run the physics of progress, you're going to come up with a hypothesis. You're going to predict where that hypothesis is going to take you if you were to test it. Then you're actually going to test it. Then you're going to analyze the data and see if it took you where you thought it was going to take you. And if it doesn't, you need to figure out what you did wrong, nobody else, you. Why didn't that piece of content work? Because it sucked. You're not good at making content. That's why. And so now you've got to get good. But in what way, what little thing could you change that would make you a little bit better? And you're going to come up with your best guess, and you're going to try it again, and you're just going to live in that loop. And guys, ultimately, all of business is living in the loop of the physics of progress. All right. These in-depth problem-solving questions, this is exactly what I do for business owners who are trying to go anywhere from $1 million literally to hundreds of millions of dollars. We do this every week. But with them, I know a lot more about their business. We get that back and forth. We develop a relationship. We develop an understanding of where their business is, what they're struggling with. Are you ready for the secret? I get to know who their significant others are and what friction is going on there. And so many of them are partners with their partners and dealing with all that stuff, the true chaos machine. And we go through all of this stuff. They get to workshop their literal hardest business challenges with me week after week. They get to learn from other killer entrepreneurs inside the group. It's absolutely amazing. Get to watch what they're doing with their businesses as well. Now, we are looking for serious business owners only who have already proven that they can build something that has that traction. Because if we're going to bring you into this group, you've got to be value add as much as the other people are adding value to you. Now, if that sounds like you, if you've really done something already, but you want to break through that plateau, go to tombilyeu.com/call and book a call to join my team and apply and see if you qualify. All right. Everybody, you want to keep going, Will? What's that? All right. All right, everybody. It looks like we are at time. I see more questions. I hope you guys will bring these in and join us in the program. This really is an incredible group of people solving incredibly difficult challenges, but doing it together using this proven framework. And I hope you will go to tombilyeu.com/call to see if you qualify today. And if you do, I'm going to help you absolutely demolish your goals in 2025. All right, everybody. I hope to see you on the inside. Peace. Funnel. And the funnel is going to look something like this. Your main guy, even if this is like a training